Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Great to have you here with me today. We're going to be talking about Erin, Tropical Storm Erin, going to become a hurricane here into the Western Atlantic. We're going to be looking at a lot of areas behind Erin here as we go over the next couple weeks. We're watching tropical wave action. Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Great to have you here with me today. We're going to be talking about Erin, Tropical Storm Erin, going to become a hurricane here into the Western Atlantic. We're going to be looking at a lot of areas behind Erin here as we go over the next couple weeks. We're watching tropical wave action. We also could have some activity into the Caribbean, but the big story is, will Erin recurve before it reaches the East Coast, or is this going to start bending westward again? Let's get into it. Looking at our satellite loop, infrared satellite of Erin out here. Here's the Cape Verde region. Another big tropical wave coming off the coastline here. But here is Erin just spinning out here. We're seeing that firing of showers and thunderstorms right around the center of circulation this last couple frames. So starting off with the GFS, and I'll show you the Euro in a couple minutes here. Look at what we have out here. This is Tropical Storm Erin. We also have a couple more areas behind Erin here that we're going to be watching. There they are. 1, 2, and if we go across Central Africa here, let's just take a look at the tropical wave action going on. This is pretty interesting. This is where all our wave action is originating from. You can just see them lining up here, one right after another. It's going to be a busy late August here. Now, let's take the first one. Erin obviously is going to be the center of the show here, so to speak. So August 14th into the 15th, we start to see it come together as a hurricane. Likely a Category 2 hurricane as we get into the day on the 15th into the 16th. You see what the GFS is doing here, though. It's following east-northeast of guidance envelope here, because National Hurricane Center has it just north of the Lesser Antilles by this point. But look at Category 3 by the 17th here. So this is going to be a close call for the Northeast Caribbean Islands. You're going to pick up some heavy rain, gusty winds. Wave action will be there. This will be your closest major storm so far this season. But it is encouraging that the GFS is showing how this high-pressure runway is running out. And we also have this disturbance up here that's going to come down at about the right time. It's just draped across the Northwest Atlantic here. Now, this is going to be pretty close to Bermuda. Wherever this starts to turn, I'll show you the Euro is actually a bit further west here. So this would keep it well away from the East Coast. This would also keep the worst of it east of Bermuda, which would be some great news. Now, the GFS does keep most of it away from Southeast Canada here. Newfoundland gets clipped on the northwest side and then blasting out into the northern Atlantic there as a major low-pressure system. So, heading back, what else do we have to look at here? Is there any chance that Erin could bend back westward? Well, not on this model. We're going to explore the Euro and see what happens. But the fact that this high-pressure runway is running out, we got this troughiness just to the west, and that's going to help steer this system safely out to sea. Now, we still have to watch because that's more than a week out. So behind it, what is going on here in the tropics? Things are going to get very interesting here. You see the Caribbean and the Gulf, it looks unusually clear. Clear as a bell here on the 19th and into the 20th. But look what's coming off the coast. This next one, the GFS is showing some potential for development, and this is an even bigger one right here. So we could be looking at some potential development areas as we head through the 21st into the 22nd, watching these waves closely. GFS tries to spin this one up a little bit. You can see on the last frame here, looking a little on the weak side. So here we go. It's kind of interesting that the GFS is actually the least active because I'm going to show you on the European run what's going to be happening. Now, as we get into this last week of August, we do start to get more shower and thunderstorm activity. Once again, it's over the Northeast Caribbean Islands. More clearing with only a few showers through the 21st. Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada here. Even Central America looks a little quieter than it did, the last several weeks to a couple months. This tropical wave on the 22nd does bear watching because it gusts right through parts of the Dominican Republic, southeastern Bahamas around the Turks and Caicos, and then makes a run off the southeast coast here of Florida. And it just kind of hangs out here with weak steering currents, kind of on the end of this tail end of this front here. And then we have more waves lining up here according to the GFS. Let's take a look at the Euro. And thanks for Tropical Tidbits here for our European tropical model analysis. So here is Erin. This is the big show in town. It's not the only show, though. We got this little disturbance up here, not going to be much. Look at these tropical waves just lining up. Also the Western Caribbean, we got some moisture, but nothing too much else. This one behind it, there's two of them actually that we'll have to watch closely because they look pretty formidable. But here is Erin. European model is now showing it getting pretty close here to the Northeast Caribbean islands, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the Northern Lesser Antilles. Here it is, 986 millibars on Sunday the 17th. So we're becoming a hurricane pretty quick here. Really starts to deepen. Now you can see it's starting to run out of that high pressure runway, as I call it here. So it's going to start to round the bend. There's almost nothing along the East Coast to steer it except for this front, but that's going to be lifting out to the northeast. So that's not going to be a thing. And then it kind of just stalls here, drapes across. So it does act as a deterrent, especially around this area of high pressure. And that's where we see that exit. Look at that, 932 millibars. European showing this, still clipping Newfoundland here. So watch out. If you're in Southeast Canada, definitely keep an eye on this as it tries to recurve. Is it possible this could still steer towards the East Coast? It's possible. All eyes are going to be on it because this is next Thursday, the 21st. So we're still more than a week out. Look at this. The European goes with another tropical storm behind it. I knew that was coming. And also several tropical waves just lining up. How interesting. Another recurve. So could this be the recurve season? It might just end up being that way. That's turning out good. However, let me show you something. This one behind it, look, stays weaker. And the weaker the storm is, the more potential it has to bend westward. And I think as we head towards the 27th of August, you can see this is going to start to bend slowly more west as these stay a little bit weaker. This could get into the Caribbean, something to watch. Speaking of Caribbean, I wanted to show you the Caribbean here. Let's take a look. As we go through time, there is Thursday. We got some showers and thunder showers moving through the Lesser Antilles. Dominican Republic. Jamaica looks dry until about Friday. Look at this. We get some showers and thunderstorms kicking up. There is Erin. It's going to be bearing down just to the northeast, but it is a large circulation. So there's the outer bands affecting even Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. Watch out. Look at that. Even the Eastern Caribbean. We're watching out for strong showers and thunder showers, heavy rain potential running high. I'll get over those rainfall amounts momentarily. And there it is, deepening. Bermuda, it's going to be so close to you. You're right here. You're literally right here. So you're going to be on the east side according to this run. Here's another tropical wave around Jamaica, Dominican Republic right around Thursday the 21st. Also watching the Eastern Caribbean for development here that last week as we head through August 24th here. So, getting to the end of the line here on the 27th, there's that tropical wave. If it remains weak enough, it will enter the Caribbean. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our intensity scale here on Erin. If you follow the tight cluster here, we're definitely going up towards Cat 3. I do think this can achieve Cat 4, though. Some of these outliers are becoming a little more common up here. So Cat 4 is possibly achievable here within a week. And sea surface temperature analysis, yeah, it is where Erin is going here, especially in the Western Atlantic. That's what's going to supercharge Erin into a major hurricane. Cape Verde area is below average. So we've had a lot early season, mid-season Saharan dust out here. That is slowly clearing. Also a lot of wave action kicking up some upwelling. But look at the Eastern Caribbean here. It's warming up, and the Gulf is steamy as well. And here we go for the Western Caribbean, Central America. These areas, yeah, it's shaping up to be a dry rest of the week into the weekend. But let's see, yeah, next week our hurricane spins off to the northeast. Parts of Puerto Rico could get up to maybe 1 to 2.5 inches of rain out of this. More closer to the Virgin Islands. Eastern part of Dominican Republic, you could pick upwards of 50, 60 millimeters. Then we get a tropical wave next weekend. That starts to move into the western central Caribbean here. Also, surge of tropical moisture here from Belize, 126 millimeters. Honduras, these are not the amounts, though, we saw last season. That's interesting. But here we go, Jamaica. You're seeing about 60, 80 millimeters in some of these red zones. Also, Dominican Republic, Haiti. Big winner here is Puerto Rico. And here we go across the Western Caribbean for the GFS. Yeah, through Monday, it looks mostly dry. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, these areas getting inundated with some outlying moisture from our hurricane. Look at Central America, though, on the GFS. As we head through the 27th, 28th, look at this. This is going to be a tropical wave that pops up. We'll have more information on it as we get, into early next week. But look at this. Some areas close to 300 millimeters. Eastern tip of Honduras here. Belize also getting upwards of 150, 200 millimeters. Jamaica over the 2-week period ekes out about 70 to 90 millimeters on average, most of these red areas. But look at the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Some of these areas could see up to 250 millimeters. And parts of Puerto Rico, potentially 3 to 4 inches of rain. As we get over into the Eastern Caribbean here, yeah, it's going to be really close with this Hurricane Erin as it approaches the Northeast Caribbean islands before it blasts off like a rocket here into the North Atlantic. I think some of these outer bands could get upwards of 125 to 150 millimeters. Looks like the Virgin Islands, these areas of the Northern Lesser Antilles, getting a lot more than, say, Trinidad Tobago, where it's roughly about 40 to 60 millimeters down here. And here we are with the Eastern Caribbean. Yeah, we're seeing that hurricane get very close. GFS, this latest run, taking it a bit further to the north and east. That would be lesser amounts than the European model here. Most areas 50 to 100 millimeters. Kind of a rain hole in the Central Lesser Antilles here. Now, as we continue through time, all the way through the end of right around the 27th, 28th time frame, yeah, we're still seeing some areas get upwards of 130 millimeters here. Trinidad Tobago is a bit more quieter, about 50, 60 millimeters. It's up here into the northeastern islands where we're going to see those heavier rainfall amounts. All right, so here we are in the Western Pacific. We have a Typhoon Podul here that is bearing down on Taiwan over the next 24 to 36 hours. Thankfully, it will be weakening, but torrential rain, and it will be moving quick. So that's the good news. So there we go. Japan is pretty dry. South Korea, you got some showers and thunder showers. Those will weaken as we head on into the 14th and 15th. So Seoul over to Tokyo, looking mostly dry with a few scattered showers. North Korea is where the heavy rain will be. So what's brewing behind Podul here? This. We also have, watching this out here in the intertropical convergence zone, we got area of low pressure heading towards Vietnam. That has the potential to develop as well. Here's a tropical system bubbling up. This one could try to head further north here as we head through the 19th and the 20th. This one bearing down on Shanghai as a hurricane. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. For the most part, Japan staying dry. South Korea, showers and thunder showers during the diurnal heating effects. And then we see a front move through South Korea and Japan here. Look what's going on south here. Major typhoon. Here's the northern Philippines. We're watching this as the Western Pacific becomes a lot more active. And looking here in the Western Pacific, yeah, the rainfall is going to be on for Taiwan. So you see that typhoon kicking up. Look at Japan, though. Look how dry. All the way through the 18th. Let's kick this through the end of the month. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, Japan remains dry. Philippines, yeah, you're getting 200, 300, 400 millimeters. Also Vietnam, some areas upwards of 400 to 500 millimeters. South China as well. Look it up here towards Korea. South Korean Peninsula near Seoul, 115 millimeters. Wetter times are ahead. Northern Japan, though, is getting clipped here. Look at this. Some areas upwards of 171 millimeters. And, the southern Japanese islands here, you're going to continue to be socked in with some rain at times as well. So you're not completely, done with the rain here. It just seems like yesterday and the day before were much rainier. And here's our future radar as we take a look through the rest of Tuesday evening here into Wednesday morning, getting to the midpoint of the week. So here is 3 a.m. Wednesday morning. You can see these showers and thunderstorms. Will they actually materialize? That's a big question. Eastern Ohio, Central Ohio, you need the rain here. We're going to try to get some of these linear showers and thunderstorms setting up here through the early morning hours. These kind of switch to the east a little bit. We'll see if we can get some firing back through the I-81 corridor here. We're also going to have them firing all the way down to the Gulf Coast area, so watch out. A little bit here into the Outer Banks region as well through 4 p.m. Look at this up towards Binghamton and Scranton. If this verifies, this could bring some beneficial rain to you through the rush hour commute. Some of these cells could pack a punch as well. Flash flooding would probably be the main threat, but it's been so dry as of late. So look at that. Getting into New York City right around 8 p.m. Look at that. These are going to bog down, and they are going to be slow movers, so I am worried about some flash flooding. Here, the Outer Banks continuing as well. You see this sliding off the coast by 1 a.m. on the 14th, and we're just going to do it all over again. The 15th, we get into the 14th here through 11 a.m. as we get down into Thursday morning. Finally, some clearing, but along the Gulf Coast, that's where you're going to do it all over again here. There's the last frame. Showers and thunderstorms. We go up through the Ohio Valley. Maybe a few stray showers and thunderstorms. We're also going to have some firing. The boundaries kind of getting stuck here across the Hudson Valley and parts of eastern New England. All right, so taking a look at where we picked up with the future radar, GFS, as we head on into the 14th Thursday. Look what's going on. Showers and thunderstorms along the East Coast. We'll continue to watch this move out. But as we head through Friday into Saturday, we're going to start setting up this ring of fire. You can see it here. Look at that MCS up here in Wisconsin and Minnesota. This could be a big one as it crashes south and eastward. It does run into that stable, capped atmosphere. Over the weekend, though, that's where we'll see sinking air. We do get another MCS trying to move through west to Detroit into northwest Ohio, but very little fanfare. Now look at this. As we get through the 18th into the 19th, we do start to see evidence of more moisture across the southeast. Also, these MCSs start to break out around the 19th into the 20th. Obviously, all eyes will be on our hurricane out here. GFS bringing east to Bermuda, so further out to sea. That's some great news. GFS actually showing a frontal boundary stretched through this area, heading to the south and east that will help scour this system out to the northeast like this. Unfortunately, the front gets stuck across the Carolinas here, the 20th into the 21st, and waves of low pressure will ride along it here. You can see as we head through the 21st, the 22nd, riding up along the Appalachians here, we get an area of low pressure, bringing some potential for beneficial rain here on the 24th and the 25th to parts of the northeast, and then more rain hanging out just off the Carolina coastline. Here's our last frame. This looks pretty interesting across the western Gulf. Severe weather outlook, we're only looking at a marginal risk here across the north central plains to South Dakota. All these storms back east are just generalized storms, big gully washers. And as we get on into the day on Thursday, let's take a look here. Yeah, the northern plains again, just generalized thunderstorms, east coast, southeast. All right, so here we are with picking up where our future radar left off with the European model. Yeah, obviously, there's Wednesday. You can see that flaring up here into the northeast, these linear showers and thunderstorms look at this, off the North Carolina coast, just trying to spin up. Here's in Thursday, the 14th. You see high pressure trying to build in, but you can see around the edges here. This is where our problems are. Got some tropical moisture coming in here. Also some severe weather up here into the Midwest. So we head through Friday. Here we go. Mesoscale convective systems up here into the northern upper Midwest. Those will be pinwheeling around our ring of fire here as we get another heat wave pivoting. Look at this, though, on Sunday. We may get some strong thunderstorms up here with some MCSs. This is kind of interesting that this is showing up on the European model because most forecasts are dry here for Sunday. We'll keep an eye on this. This is kind of interesting that the Euro is showing this. This is mainly later Sunday afternoon and evening. We could have some severe weather out of this, so something to definitely watch here. There we're going to be, look at that, 942 millibars there. Yeah, we're going to be watching our Major Hurricane Erin, 932, 931. kind of round the bend here. What is really steering that? Well, it's mainly that high pressure system. It's running out of runway, so to speak. So as I said in the tropical update, it's just going to spin this direction up and around that ridge. So it's we don't really have any major systems across the East Coast to the U.S., so that's what's saving so far the East Coast. As we head through the 23rd, you can see some shower and thunderstorm action with a disturbance and MCS across West Texas here. And as we continue through time, the trouble spot is going to continue to be the southeast here. Look at this, just relentless, and that we do see a wave. Almost looks like a tropical wave moving up the coast here, trying to close off an area of low pressure through the 26th. And here we go. We got another front dragging through the northeast. I do think in time we're going to see cooler conditions up here. Rainfall amounts here on our European run as we head through the end of the week into the weekend. Yeah, it's the southeast, North Carolina, Minnesota, these areas. Look at that. This is some really bad news. Because look at this. Yeah, this is good news that the Euro is also showing this hurricane recurving out to sea. But we're still going to get some majorly deep tropical moisture here all the way through August 27th here. Southeast Louisiana, Panhandle of Florida, Southern Alabama, Mississippi. Look at Georgia here. Socked in with 4 to 8 inches of rain. Even the Outer Banks getting close to 4, 5 inches. A little bit less up here into the Ohio Valley Northeast. Most areas getting 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And there's the Midwest. 5, 6 inches, southern Minnesota. So rainfall amounts on the GFS, comparing that to the European run, very, very similar here. I'd say the GFS is maybe just a little bit to the north with the heaviest rain across mostly North Carolina and Virginia. Some of these areas upwards of 7, 8 inches. Look at Florida, though. This would be a godsend to get some beneficial rain down here, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches. And then look it up in the Midwest with these MCS systems. Some of you could see upwards of 8, 9 inches out of this. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions and comments and respond. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's so easy. Subscribe button down below, bell notification button, and my Hurricane 2025 forecast. Link at the end of the video and description down below. Let's continue with more weather coverage. So if we look at the upper air pattern, yeah, unfortunately, let's go a little bit further out here. This Inferno Ridge comes raging back over the weekend. And then we see our potential hurricane here. You see this trough lining up southeast Canada. That's going to help pull it up here. And that gets us, a little bit closer to the U.S. East Coast. So it's going to be closer here on the Euro. This is what's going to be the magnet for it, bringing it up like this. So we'll see whether the GFS or the Euro is right, but there you go. You do see signs of troughiness by the end of August. This could mean cooler temperatures in the east. And looking at the NAO index, we are slowly going from positive to negative and back to neutral by the end of the month. And our MJO index here, yeah, this is going from phase 1, 2 into 3 and 4. This would signify quieter times are ahead late August into early September. So our Canadian weather forecast here as we go through the next couple weeks. You can see we got some beneficial rain up here. This is going to help the Canadian wildfire situation up here in Alberta, Saskatchewan, eastern British Columbia here. Look at this. Nice big area of low pressure providing lots of rain. Another Pacific system moving in here to British Columbia. And look at this area of high pressure across Quebec. That's going to crest eastward as this area of low pressure just runs into it and tries to fire up some shower and thunderstorm action with very little fanfare here. So as we get through the 17th into the 18th, more rain moving through Manitoba and Ontario here. Another wave of low pressure moving through Alberta. That is some great news. These Pacific systems, this is so bizarre. This looks more reminiscent of wintertime. Right off the British Columbia coastline here. But look at high pressure and control of eastern Canada through the 20th, 21st. We do start to get some evidence. We'll see some storminess moving through the prairies here with some storms firing along the southern end of it here as we head through the 22nd. This low pressure just winding up through Hudson Bay, dragging this cold front through. Maybe some sharp showers and thunder showers, strong thunderstorms moving across southern Ontario and Quebec eventually Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here. Then another system. This is a very fast-moving weather pattern. You can see the 25th, more storminess. These Pacific systems ride in like this. They head across the prairies and then out like this on the East Coast. And our Canadian rainfall totals here, yeah, we're going to rack them up out west here. The East initially is drier, but it does start to fill in by the last week of August. But here it is. Look at this. West Coast, this looks more like wintertime. Well over 200 millimeters in these areas. Really great for the wildfire situations out here in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba areas. Look at this. Nice bullseye of rainfall, 60 to 120 millimeters. Also, we're just raining it down here pretty hard from Ontario, Quebec, a little bit lesser amounts here into New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland, and much more up in the Canadian Maritimes. This heat just continues to be relentless. Look at this. Wednesday, August 13th, look at this into the northeast, low to mid-90s. We get some relief a little bit behind it, upper 70s, lower 80s, getting into parts of the lakes here. We'll see how far east we can make this. Thursday, we will see the lower humidity as well, getting back down into the 80s. So that will be welcome. But look at this. It's relentless. And this is going to be heading northeast. Watch how quickly this overtakes the northeast and the Ohio Valley and parts of the Midwest. Mid to upper 90s in some of these areas, low to mid 90s getting into the northeast. Sunday is going to be the toastier of the 2 days. Look at that. Plenty of 90s. It's crazy. And as we get on into Monday, look at this. We do start to see evidence that these 70s might try to start spill southeast. All right, so as we get into Wednesday, showers and thunderstorms likely. We'll see how many of these we actually get. It's a decent amount, 70%, but stranger things have happened here in the southern tier of New York and northeast Pennsylvania. As we head on into Wednesday night into Thursday, a few showers and thunderstorms hanging out, but clearing in the Thursday afternoon, lower humidity, mid-80s into Friday. Look at this. We just start the heat wave right over again. A baking hot weekend well into the 90s. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather